much for joining me. Paulina here, talking to you about this incredible transit of the moon through Pisces. It is going to be a full moon in Pisces on the 26th of August 2018. It is now the 23rd of August. I'm a little bit late with this one, but yes, it is still not too late. It is not too late to talk to you about this particular time. So congratulate yourself, please, if you've got the time, if you've got the space. Congratulate yourself now on how well you're doing, how well you've done. We're going from a fixed to a communicative sign. It is such a great time to really pull in, to really connect, to really push together, to solidify and strengthen, and to be proud finally of who you are, what you've done, why you've done, however it happened, how it's come to be. If you've seen some dreams manifest, or if you've seen some people enter your life in the last couple of months, just congratulate them, congratulate you. Keep an open mind though, but at the same time, yes, it is good to feel solid now. It is good to feel solid about what you've done over the last couple of weeks. It is good to see where the road has led you and where this eclipse season that has ended on the 14th of August has really ended you up. It's good, it's good. You know, where you are is great. And now the best time is now to no longer try and fix. You know, sometimes people look back, you know, 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, and they go, oh, no, I've got to change my plans. I've got to rebook the flights. I've got to, you know, you don't have to do half the things that you might think that you have to do now. If you can, create sparseness now. So starting off Virgo here, you don't have to work hard. You don't have to do 1,000 things to prove yourself, and you don't have to fix 1,000 things just to make sure that you are on top of your life. On this spectrum, I feel is work of any kind with the mind, work with the hands, work with your whole soul, you know, giving yourself away, humanitarian pursuits, everything like that, everything beautiful and heartfelt. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who are doing astrology telling you, you know, this is a heartfelt, you know, dreamy moon, like really like reach out and stretch out and touch another and give to your friends. At this point in time, not many of us are really truly connected yet to our hearts and to our souls and the feeling of goodness. And sometimes what happens here is we don't really feel solid at the end of Leo, and what happens is we don't want to perhaps miss the moment. Maybe we don't want to miss an opportunity to give or to get or to receive or to try or to work or to structure or to recreate. And especially recreating scenarios, recreating friendships, rewriting scripts, trying to meet someone all over again, trying to start again, trying to create some kind of meaning out of what's already done. It is really, really good to just stop and feel. It is not a race, okay? It is not a conveyor belt of do anymore, I hope, for a lot of people. We don't actually have to here do as much as we did before, and on occasion some people melt down because of it. It's like something opens, there's breath, and nature asks, do you want to have more time with your children maybe? Do you want to have more time with your friends? Do you want to have more time with your partner? Do you want to strengthen your bonds that you have now that are actually truly here and truly did survive the eclipse season? And a lot of people might go, right, okay, what can I do? And altruism is huge. We're in a dog year, and some of us can actually get sucked in and pushed in. And also we can become surrogates for other people during this time, especially after Leo month, as people sometimes are undernourished children and they want someone to care for them. So nurse time, nurses, Virgo time, nurses nursing another person, sitting there listening to them, you know, having these 3-hour conversations when before you even started the conversation, you already knew what it was going to be. You know, all these things. You have to really start to structure yourselves in such a way that it's most productive, but at the same time in a certain manner where you don't do a lot but you achieve much more than before. So a little stroke of a feather and mountains move. That's best. And also try not to push yourself onto another person, a certain type of altruistic friend, or like an altruistic kind of like acquaintance, like a nurse or like a grandma archetype, especially a mother or some kind of like special guide for another person when they're not asking you to help at all. Also, yes, for people who are constantly on the go with others, that are constantly rags for others, you know, like you rag for another person, you're mopping up other people's spills, you're somebody else's housewife, or you're somebody else's guest or friend or needed partner, or like a replacement or something. You're noticing, when you're noticing yourself, especially now, hang on, I'm again in a role of a support mechanism, or a crutch for someone else's life. When you're noticing this is such a good moon. And I know that a lot of people will say, go for it, altruistic pursuits, just put it all together. No, 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 no. I know this is a global moon. This is a beautifully, how can I say, sacred, heartfelt moon. But some of us are not ready to give without hidden ego. Some of us are not really willing to give, maybe as well, because we're not yet giving to ourselves enough, and we're not yet understood as a child to our own inner parent. And then a lot of people also are not really willing to get, to take without shame. And we're not quite together, I feel, yet in terms of give and take. So just opening your hearts to this global need of altruism, or for giving and caring and bringing, and just putting your life on the line for someone else. Right now, as it stands, to me, it's just not ready. It's not cooked or something like that. And that's not okay as well. So if we can please, before the full moon, could we please feel really good about ourselves? Because some of us might actually be asked, or be asking even, to really step out, step up, and step in. Some of us, as parents, as surrogates, as some kind of friends, as needed nurses, needed doctors, some kind of psychologists, or just support mechanisms for other people. If you've been asking to do things like that on the unconscious, you might actually already be facing situations in the last couple of weeks that have led you towards a certain position like that. And this is all about the giver and the taker. This is all about the sacred heart of the world, and the conscious gift that perhaps can never be repaid from that person directly, or can never really ever be forgotten, or can never really be replied to. Sometimes during this time, it's actually very, very healthy and caring if you feel well enough, if you feel well in your ego enough, because we're just gone for a Leo, if you feel well in your heart space enough to maybe generate some money for someone else, pay for someone else's meal. It is really, really good. And some of us will actually receive, or perhaps already are receiving, overflow of grace towards another. But the thing is, sometimes if the heart is not healed, the ego is not fine, that overflow might be in detriment, or it might be in delusion. So it's like, I really want to help you, but I don't really know what I'm going to get from it, or will I see you again, or do you think that you'd like to create with me something later? So it's almost like payment in advance for something else. That also happens here as well. So sometimes during this time people can give, but it could be charity and with something else in mind, and also investment in something that may not be the future. So here we can actually really repay a lot of karmic debt. So for example, you haven't seen your mother in a long time. It is really nice to give her a present. Perhaps some of you have already been spending, not over the top, but over what you usually would for a person in need. That could have already been happening. So some of you might have already been paying or giving, or even living or caring for people, or like just being there for people a little bit more than usual. That's already kind of starting here with me, for example. I mean, you can perhaps already see in your own world that there might be a few altruistic ideas that you have and you don't know why. So the best idea is to be in balance and to be in a really, really nice connection as to who you are, where you're going, where you want to go, how's it all panning out for you, how it's all looking, sitting, and how it's feeling. And really sit with yourself. It's a really nice time for altruism, but there's also need to be peaceful and still and within your own mind, because sometimes we can swap minds here, because the moon is going through Aquarius before, so we might swap minds, and we might actually accidentally get somebody else's wishes on our radar. We might actually accidentally get someone else's needs in our brain, and we don't even know that's happening because we haven't yet been totally aware within our hearts and our egos as to who we are and how proud we are to be ourselves. So if you don't really fill up the space that you have to by now, if you don't own your own heart, if you don't own your own feelings, and if you don't own your own light, it might very easily be distributed for other people. You might be a fill-in or a peg, or some kind of like a push, or like a button, or an additive to someone else's life, and perhaps even a support mechanism suddenly for someone else, even though it wasn't really suitable for you to become that. So it's really, really important sometimes, yes, to give during this time. It's a really amazing time for karmic repay. It is an amazing time also for procrastination and decisions and ideas and ideals that are for the greater good, the common good, you know, the world stage, or like the global market. It's really beautiful time for the grand idea, the grand design. But unfortunately, it feels to me that, yes, again, I will say that it is not quite there. And this trine on the first few degrees of the earth signs, you know, between Saturn, Uranus, and the Sun, this trine to me says, take it back, and think. You know, just before you do the thing, just before you want to invest all your time into this person, or just before you want to decide to marry someone, you know, or you want to give to someone, or you want to just be there forever, you know, just before, maybe perhaps, you know, it's good to dream, it's good to idealize, it is good to procrastinate and create these beautiful castles in the sky, but just before you decide to invest, especially if it's like money, time, and also longer timelines, like, you know, say, I want to marry you, you know, I finally want to have this child or something like that. Just before you decide on this big step, take a few steps back and understand who you are, who you've been. Please, please, please. Even though it's been eclipse season and we've been asked to cut away a lot from the past, take into consideration who you are, where you've been for the last 2 or 3 years. What have you been working on? What has your life amounted to so far? And are these ideas feasible and sustainable for the future and for the past? What I mean is, do they make sense with your last few years? Are you doing, like, you know, the thing where you cut off the past and you're doing completely new relationship with your life or with your world? Or do you kind of see how it all has been coming to this? One of the last things I'd like to mention is that the moon here before Neptune, okay, and this incredible Mercury in Leo before the Sun, to me, it is not very good for true finesse. It's not very good for true, how can I say, lifelong vision. With this type of also North Node, you know, it's just not a good idea to go in full throttle. But where we are excelling, though, where it could be much better, is, for example, you haven't seen your mother in a while, send her a package, send her some flowers. You haven't seen your friends, you know, it's like, for example, you've been ignoring your collective. It's a beautiful time to give them some time. For example, if you have not watered the garden, you know, that is your family or like your children, or that is your project, start to really put in, and especially for people and for also organizations or environments that perhaps are not necessarily entirely directly yours. For example, someone else's house. It is good, it is good. Someone else's house, someone else's ideas, someone else's creative projects, someone else's kids, great. But just know that you do not need to serve on a great karmic scale. But sometimes, on occasion, with this type of sky, we'll be reminded of the debts that we haven't paid. So for example, you haven't been in touch with your mother, something will tell you inside, give her some flowers, just buy the flowers. Buy those flowers now. Do that now. It may not be all the time, but sometimes sending her flowers once in a while will be enough to sustain a more like connective, more emotional, more romantic ideal of a relationship with your parent. You know, it could be more perhaps superficial than it was, but it might actually patch up a lot of work for you later. Like here we have a horse dose, you know what I mean? It's like a little spoon of honey that lasts and lasts. I mean, here, just one kiss can last and last. You know, just one word can last and last. And the final thing that I'd like to say is that be very, very aware of the weight that you hold with others. Be very, very careful of the amount of passion and perhaps also superficiality and beauty and romance and all those things. The amount of energy that you're giving in just one little thing. So here we're going very, very, very high in frequency, right? So the small gesture, like the small present, or like the small deed can actually last and last. try not to do, this is not for everyone, but for most of you guys, if you feel in your heart that, your gestures of altruism and love and care are not for life, try not to rope yourself into a cycle where you, because we've got such a strong Saturn here at the trine, a cycle where you're repeating the same motion over and over and over again, and where you are hopefully not making promises like, I will be here for you every day, all the time. It's very important, unless it is really timed for you to be. And also it's very good here to do once-off gifts, once-off gestures, unless you're really, really tied into a cycle. And how do you know if you're tied into a cycle? Okay, for instance, you've been ignoring an issue, been ignoring a situation, and you haven't wanted to participate. Then you get a mirror situation, and it's the same situations, karmic cycle. For example, you did not want to help your family member that has been having a really hard time, and then you get another person, new person in your life that is mirroring their exact situation. Mirror, mirror, okay? It's not okay to just leave it at that. Okay, you've got mirrored situations in your life. Try to connect the dots for both. Try to bring yourself to peace, but don't make a promise. So for example, you couldn't be here for this person, and then you're saying, not for you, but I'll be there for this person. For example, like if you're a man, you're saying, my mother was unquestionably like uncomfortable person. I wasn't happy with my mother's presence in my life or her parenting, and I've discarded that relationship. But then you have like another person that is in a very, very similar state, and you're saying, oh, my mother I won't help, but this person I will help. I will marry this woman, I'll be best friends with this woman, I'm going to give her everything that I have. Be very careful, so you're not going to go into your family cycle and work out the karma through your family directly. You're going to go into a mirrored cycle and work out the karma through a mirror impression of what you've already had in your past. Be very careful. Be very careful. So what you might want to do here is this. Okay, so you've had this before, and you're seeing a mirror image of your situation, for example. It's good to give to both. Okay, unless you're not tied. If you're not tied, good, just give to that person. You've got reoccurring themes, give to that which is a pattern and has been there for a long time. Though, one other thing, yeah, okay, what can prevent you from servitude during this time is just acceptance of fate. If you have reoccurrences, and on this level, sometimes acceptance of certain stories and trying to no longer feel like this, no longer feeling moralistic or, how can I say, too altruistic or too demonizing of someone's life and too judgmental of someone's, patterns, the patterns of self-respect, the patterns of attainment, the patterns of health, the patterns of mental and physical well-being. These patterns, especially if you're judging yourself, you're judging another, you're judging the world, these patterns, you have to just trust and learn to just subdue your anger as well, because this is a unconsciously angry time here with this incredible North Node in the 12th house to the Sun. It's in Leo, so it's behind the Sun right now in Virgo. And also we've got Mars moving up to the Moon, it's really, really strong. It's like Mars is pretty much 12th house to the Moon here almost, So this is a really, really strong time. So what I mean is, like, we can also judge ourselves. We can judge ourselves and others for not providing certain things for people, not knowing how to be with a certain person, not knowing how to deal with a certain situation, then it reoccurs to us again. We've got to lead these stories to an end, or at least try to satisfy our own inner patterns, especially if we recognize them already. It's like, well, I've always dated these certain people, or like I always have these certain women, with these particular issues in my life who I have to help because I didn't help, say, my parent, for example. I didn't have any heart for my, previous partner, and here I am again with a similar type of situation. So you have to fish out these patterns, but at the same time, it's difficult to retain stability and groundedness, to make sure that you don't rope yourself into anything, and to retain a self-pride, like a sense of pride that we should have accepted already by the end of the eclipse season. And by the end of Leo, we should have been heaving with goodness, heaving with achievement, heaving with delight at ourselves and our journey. So however you've come to be, all the best to you on this transit. Please take advantage of this really nice retrograde season. People are like, retrogrades? No. really nice retrograde season, the drawing back, the taking back, the reining in of passion, the reining in of action. Take advantage of this. Also got this amazing grounding trine and earth sign, really working for you here. It's really working for us because it is taking us a few steps back. We all have a little bit of leeway to think about what we're doing, what we've done, and do we really want to do the things that we've committed to, and take your time. Even if you have a fast-paced job, even if you've got to do things fast, pace yourself, don't struggle, try to help and also connect, and don't forget your soul purpose. It is easy to give it all away here for one person. It is so simple here to just be in servitude. Just try to remember who you are and connect the dots together. And I hope between you and service to others, or between you and this massive dream, or between you and these adventures, perhaps for some lucky people, as Moon is calling people abroad, perhaps who are completely free, and between also yourself and these different types of vacations or ideals or situations, or maybe even belief systems, you will find a nice worthy link which doesn't subdue either one. So you're creating a nice barrier between you and these other things, but at the same time a really nice fruitful network or fruitful connection. And perhaps for some of us, we'll be able to finally adjust those social stories we've been experiencing for way too long. And for some others, it could be readjustment of their family curves. How I mean is their family timelines and the family issues, or like the reoccurring timelines that we've had in our past. So this could be an incredible moon, but think hard before you do. And if you really need to, ask a friend. So thank you very much. Hope you had fun. I hope the dog ear has paid you back with some incredible people and at least acquaintances and friends. And I hope you have a wonderful moon. Thank you very much. Everything's in the links below, and I will see you in the September videos. Thanks a lot. Bye.